I believe we can start. Vicky is saying.
أوكي. صباح الخير للجميع.
Good morning, everyone.
اليوم بيشرفنا يكون
It's
عندنا
an honor
لقاء
for us today
ننجح
to work
معنا اللي بتديره
on the
مؤسسة
project Winning with Women,
مؤسسة GPG بالشراكة
organized
مع
by
جمعية التنمية
GPG,
الدولية.
Global Partners Governance, in partnership with the Lebanese Organization of Studies and Training
للانضمام
LOST,
للناخبين
to
والمنتخبين
work on the
الانتخابات المحلية
outcomes of the research, the voter turnout and mobilization
نستفيد منها.
and Lebanon's local elections. There are many lessons learned for women candidates
شحات
today. Our
للانتخابات
activity is really unique today because we have
هذا السبب هيدي الدراسة
candidates for the municipality elections in 2023. This is why this study was conducted for them to
أميلي
benefit from it and to study it and to enter it into effect. I would like to ask Emily Beth, the
من
director at
سنتين
GPG, whom we all know, and we've been
19
working with her for the past 2 years. Emily in 2019
الإدارة التنظيمية
has
بالإدارة
joined the GPG, and now she
تنوع على
works on the organizational management, in addition to a huge diverse portfolio when it comes to communication in GPG and their strategy for development inside this organization. And she has a political background because she was working in London and Brussels with the Liberal Democratic Party in Europe. Emily that as a politician at the same time she worked on governance. We'd love to give you the floor, Emily.
Thank you so much, Josephine. Good morning, everyone. As Josephine said, I'm Emily Death. I'm the Director of Global Partners Governance Foundation. Several of you on the call know of us already, but for those who don't, we're a political development consultancy headquartered in London and with projects in MENA, in Central Asia, in Africa, elsewhere. And those projects combine direct implementation with research and analysis. You're all very welcome to the launch of our new research report, Voter Turnout and Mobilization in Lebanon's Local Elections, Lessons for Women Candidates. This report forms part of our current Winning with Women project, in partnership, as Josephine mentioned, with the Lebanese Organization for Studies and Training, LOST. This project is on women's political leadership in municipalities and communities in Lebanon, and several of our incredible, hardworking and inspirational women leaders join us on the call today, and a special welcome to you all. Unfortunately, the postponement of the municipal elections in Lebanon this year has meant that the candidates' campaigns have been somewhat delayed. But this has in no way dimmed their ambition and their diligence in their communities. And we do, of course, hope for news about rescheduled municipal elections shortly. As Josephine mentioned as well, the project has been ongoing for a few years now, since 2019. And in that time, we have carried out various pieces of research, including on obstacles to women's participation in Lebanon in general, particularly those which affect them getting elected at the national level, which remains, of course, very challenging, though not impossible, as we can see in the case of our dear colleague who joins us today, Dr. Halima Karkour. And more recently, we've also carried out research on opportunities and challenges for all of the candidates at the municipal level specifically. That research led us to identifying that low voter turnout was a cause for concern, but also a potential space in which women candidates could do things differently. Lebanon, as in many countries, is seeing disaffection with politics and a political class which is failing citizens, which leads to low turnout at elections at all levels. But in municipalities, we see an opportunity, a domain in which politicians can be closer to those people that they represent, can achieve success beyond the traditional factional lines of party, confessional, or tribal affiliation, and be an arena in which women who are already visible and powerful leaders in their communities can translate that expertise into politics. And this is absolutely the case with our fantastic candidates engaged in this programme, who have developed and lead a wide variety of initiatives in their communities, supporting women's economic empowerment, vulnerable young people, or opportunities for cultural exchange, to name just a few. It is for this reason that we chose to look at how women candidates can mobilise voters in municipality elections specifically. As part of our programme, we're providing mentoring and campaign support to women candidates from regions across Lebanon, including Beirut and Mount Lebanon, Tripoli, Saida, Baalbek and Bekaa. And some of our expert trainers and mentors join us as speakers today. The message we often discuss with candidates is how women have to do things differently in order to level the playing field with established men candidates. We work, for instance, on supporting women candidates to roll out fundraising initiatives or communication tactics which have been less commonly used in elections in Lebanon. So in this case, we have sought to look at what strategies have been successful in mobilising voters and how women candidates can be at the forefront of those innovative campaigning techniques which can inspire voters, both young and old, to turn out to vote. We also consider it of vital importance that not just women, but men as well are engaged in the fight for more equal gender representation in politics in Lebanon. Institutions which are more gender balanced have been shown to provide better outcomes for men and women. For this reason, an important strand of our project works on male allyship to women's leadership and forms a platform on which men and women work alongside each other on policy issues in their local communities. And many of the male allies engaged in our programme also join us today, and you are most welcome. I know we have many attendees here today who are engaged in work on women's leadership and politics in Lebanon and internationally, and we would be really delighted to hear all of your thoughts on the findings. We'll be sharing the full report after today's session and do welcome any and all input to our findings and to our conclusions. Do also follow GPG and GPGF's international work on our website, where you can sign up to receive our newsletter, and on social media, including Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And with that, I say thank you, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing the findings from the colleagues.
شكرا أميلي على
Thank you, Amelie, for this introduction that give us a clear idea that this study wasn't conducted for no reason, but because we need to have this study for the women to work on the elections, because we're very close to the election, and this is why this study has played a very important role to know the percentage of the participation and how important it is to work on demobilization as well as voter turnout. This is why now I would like to report to Victoria Al-Khouri Zwain, who has prepared a methodology for this study. She is a former municipality member in 2004 and was re-elected in 2016, but now she resigned because she considered that the elections should have been organized in 2022 and didn't happen. Victoria is a trainer and a consultant in the Middle East for more than 22 years. She's also a GPGF associate. She's an expert. She has trained hundreds of candidates and politicians and leaders in political parties in the Middle East. She's preparing for the elections and for the electoral campaigns for women candidates as well as men candidates. For any person who would like to get involved in the political arena, Victoria will help them. She has established an executive organization. She is her director, owned. It is a local organization for civil partnership as well as local governance. Victoria, of course, I won't finish if I want to talk everything about you, but today we would like to listen to your methodology, from where we were able to get those figures, how we were able to work on the ground, how women responded with you, how everyone responded with you. In fact, we have come up with this study to benefit from it as much as possible, to benefit also from the expertise on the ground with women so that they can benefit from it to the elections. The floor is yours, Victoria. Thank you, Josephine. Good morning, everyone. Honestly speaking, I'd like to thank you again. I'd like to thank all the partners who has worked on this study, and all the women candidates also who have been working on this project for the past 2 years. And they're giving a lot, and they're giving everything they have so that we can improve at the local level in different areas and in different municipalities. So this is why I'm excited to see what will be going on in the elections. Hopefully, we will organize the elections very soon, and everyone will be participating. As to the methodology of the work, I'll be presenting to you the 4 tools in particular that we have used.
جروب مقابلات
which is about the focus groups, interviews with experts,
الأشياء
men and women, experts with, sorry, interviews
زيادة عن
with candidates, and that's research that we have organized in addition to the other tools that was used. So when we first start to talk about this issue in the beginning, we were asking whether it is better to conduct interviews with the candidates individually or as a focus groups. And later on, we found that the importance of the focus group is that if we have established these focus groups and some people were talking to each other, discussing this with each other, this might open a new scopes and new opportunities in the discussion and might enrich this type of information, might give us more information and they will, of course, encourage the people to vote for the candidates. I will explain a little bit those tools, starting from the focus groups,
الركيزة الأساسية لهيدا الدراسة.
which of course was the main pillar
على 6
for
مجموعات
this study. We have worked on 6
حضور شخصي يعني
focus groups. 4 happened with
مجموعتين
a personal presence. That means we've met with the people, and 2
أشخاص
happened
اللي
through the internet. The total of the people who have
ستة focus.
participated were 40 people. They have participated in those
نحن بالبداية
6 focus groups. How were they divided? In the
بس مع
beginning, we were trying to see or to decide whether we should do the focus group only with women participants. Then we found that no, it's better for women and men to participate, and especially that this project maybe is among the first projects that took into consideration the male allies that played a very important role in women's participation and women political participation. This is why in the focus group we have 72% of the participants were women and 27 men. And I'll show you in every focus group how we've done it. As to the age of those who have participated, you'll notice that you have 50% for those who are under 30 years old, 17% between 31 and 40, 23%, 41, 50, and 10% above 51 years old. So we have focused in this case, and of course, when you will receive the results, you will know the tab will show you the results. You'll see that the numbers of the participants was very important. It was as a criteria. Why? Because we wanted to know the difference between how the people who were voting for the first time, how they're thinking, the youth, how they're thinking also, and other also groups, how they're thinking, how they're working in this election, and on which criteria will they choose their candidates. And here you will see the explanation for every focus group. And you will notice that we have 2 focus groups that we have done where women only were participating. There is 1 focus group that happened with men only, and the other focus groups were mixed. And here you'll notice also that in one of the focus groups, it was only for the youth, it targeted the youth. There were women and men, youth who have participated to take their opinion into consideration. As to the areas, we have worked with people from different areas so to see how the participation differ from one place to the other. So this is in general when it
part
comes
أو
to the
تاني
focus group.
هي
The
المقابلات
second part or the second tool that we have used is the interviews that we have conducted with
وحدة كانت
experts, female and male experts, and we have
خبيرة
conducted
بالنوع
3 interviews. One with the gender expert. The second interview was with an electoral expert. So he's an expert in elections, and he's already worked with the municipality elections and parliamentary elections. And the third one is to work with a reference at the Ministry of Interior and Municipalities. So here we have chosen people from different backgrounds. We wanted to know from the experience of people who worked on the elections to give us what are the obstacles maybe that they were facing and that the list were facing also. And from the other side, the candidates, also men and women, when they have participated and how they have participated in this election. So as a result of the study, you will find that we have different opinions and we were diverse in choosing and we have taken into consideration the 3 tools that we have used targeted
عملنا مقابلتين
the female candidates in particular, and he was
حالية
conducted 2 interviews. One interview with a
كمان
current
هون
candidate who will run for the municipality
عم
elections
بتحفز
now, and we are seeing now the things with her,
خاصة
what will encourage her to run for candidacy, and at the same time the obstacles. Especially that it's not easy at all, and knowing that the election is being postponed several times. So this is putting pressure, imposing pressure, whether on the candidate or on the candidates, men and women. And yes, it's very difficult now to convince them that the elections will happen and that they should participate in this election. The second interview that we have conducted with the former candidate that was elected, and the main goal is to know these success stories. How was she able to win this election, as well as the lessons learned or any advice that she might be able to give based maybe on mistakes she has made in her electoral campaign. So of course we have added two interviews were added to the research, in addition of course to the desk research that happened. The main goal behind this desk research was to work whether through the internet or all the information that we have. The main goal is first to see in the previous elections what were they given, what do we have, in particular the percentage of or the voter turnout, whether in the municipality elections or in the parliamentary elections, to see the difference, to see to what extent they can make a difference. The current electoral law in itself that we have, and how can it make a difference on the participation of the people, whether at the level or of running for candidacy or voting, and who are the partners or stakeholders who are working on the issue of elections in Lebanon, and whom they have already studies that they have conducted, whether when it comes to the political participation of women or voters' participation as well. So here in this way, I would be summarizing with you all the tools that we have
لا قدرنا
used, as
ناخذ
we have said, and that through it also we were able to know the opinion of the people, whether in their presence and different focus groups.
بين الأشخاص
And here, the dynamics that happen between the people in the discussion
أو من خلال
or at the individual level through the discussions that we have made or through the interviews that we have conducted with experts. Thank you. Thank you, Vicky. Vicky, the methodology is really important and has taken into consideration all the aspects of this study, and this shows to what extent the study is important and serious at the same time. When we say good and serious, that means we have taken into consideration the opinion of the people, of the experts on the ground, because those people have faced many elections and they know about the gender, they know the situation on the ground. So I'd like to thank you for the questions, and of course, I know many people are waiting to ask you more questions to see, know, and more about the methodology, to
خاصة
know about the
إنه
methodology. But I will leave the questions till the end, and
صفحتنا صرنا فوق
especially that the participants are increasing. We are more
الأسئلة
than
للآخر
80 people now, so this is why I would like to ask to
بالدراسة
leave the questions until the end to know more about this study with Dr. Gustavo Gustav, who has prepared this study
دولية
with their methodology. He's the head of the Research and International Organization for Governance GPG. He has more than 15 years of experience in the quantitative and qualitative research. He used these skills in the academic research and practical research that focus on the representation of the parties through the empowerment, in addition to the cross-cutting issues between the business and the study. He has a PhD from London for Economy and Political Science, and he has also a master's in politics. Dr. Gustavo, you have this expertise in politics, whether the local politics, parliamentary elections. While working on this study, we want to benefit from your opinion to come up with the recommendations after this study, after this huge study. And of course, after our meeting today, it will be open, the study available to all the citizens, and particularly the women candidates. What are the recommendations that you have come up with, and how it's possible um, to have remarks that every woman can benefit from? Thank you, Dr. Gustavo. We would like to give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Josephine. Thank you very much, Victoria, for this very thorough presentation of the methodology. I think it shows how hard you worked and all of the team on the ground. And that's basically the most important part of the study, how we try to size the groups that to basically represent different segments of society. And yeah, thank you. Let's move now to the main findings. In one of the key elements that comes out of the research is this, probably is not a surprise, but an almost unanimous opinion that things are going in the wrong direction in Lebanon, and things are getting worse. But something that really caught my attention is that this level of pessimism was stronger amongst younger respondents. As you see in the quote I extracted from the research, a young respondent said, "We have reached a point in which everything is missing and our goals are now gone." And I wanted to call the attention about this type of pessimism amongst the youth, because it's something that we are seeing not only in Lebanon or in countries that are facing specific crises, but across the globe. There's some level of disaffection, higher level of disaffection amongst younger segments of the population across the globe, which has raises a red flag about the prospects of the future of democracy, which is also experiencing a backslide across the globe. But now moving about what the respondents identified as the top priorities for municipalities ahead of the future election is security, street hygiene, infrastructure, electricity, access to water, and unemployment. However, here we identified a slight variation between the priorities assigned by women and men respondents. Women tended to be more worried about security issues, especially street lighting. That it is a big problem for several of the respondents, whereas men, especially younger members, younger respondents, are more focused, I would say, on economic issues, especially unemployment and the future of the spiral of inflation that's facing Lebanon now. Moving now on the views about political parties or the local system of politics. The main finding is that the main political parties, or what we can call parties of the establishment, or traditional parties, if you want, are perceived as being dominant. They remain dominant, but they lack legitimacy. As you can see in this quote that I extracted as well, most respondents think that or see political parties as organizations very much focused on narrow interests, the narrow interests of a clique or an elite, and not the general interests of the population, that being at the national or at the local level. And this, of course, is one of the main elements that explain low turnout in elections, be they national or subnational. But this is not the whole story. Disaffection is not the whole story explaining why there are low levels of turnout. There are other more practical barriers. There are political, legal, and logistical barriers. Out of these, let's say the political part would be, especially in smaller villages, the role of or the lack of choice in terms of how many parties can participate, because the system tends to be dominated by a handful of families that, in different combinations with established political parties, make it a bit difficult for people to see that there's a real choice of candidates. Moving to legal barriers, this is a really problematic issue and something that should be thought for future reforms. I don't know how feasible that would be, but basically the current electoral rules, in a way, force people to vote in the ancestral village and not where they live. But many people are migrating, especially to the larger cities, and that means that there's a lot of, let's say, a big segment of the population that cannot really vote or are not really interested in voting in a place where they were born because they live in somewhere else. As you can see in the code I extracted from the research, a woman responded and said, "Let me vote in Beirut. This is where I live, and I don't have like an invested interest in the situation back there, back home in my ancestral village." And this is tied to logistical barriers, because although it will be very difficult to change the legal system, probably, there's also a lack of alternatives to ease this problem. Like, for example, facilitating people being able to move to vote in those local villages, or creating some system by which people could still vote even if they live somewhere else, maybe by post, etc. But those logistical barriers are still there, and it is still very expensive to travel, depending on where people live, to travel to that place where they are supposed to vote. Disregarding the fact that many respondents won't even be interested in voting back where they were born. But yeah, moving to the more specific issue of the role of women in local politics, across the board, men and women respondents are generally positive about women in politics. They all see as a very as a refreshing element for the system to have more women participating in politics. That's very that creates a lot of hope, let's say, for change. But apart from that, an important point is that when it comes to candidates, or the expectations of most respondents about what a female candidate or a women candidate should bring to the table, the fact of the candidate being a woman is not the main element, or will not determine people voting for a specific candidate. They are still interested in the life experience of the candidate, their skills in terms of leadership, communication, and having a track record of having led something. Be it a political sphere, in the political sphere, or in an NGO sphere, or with the community. As we can point in this quote extracted from the research, a woman respondent said, "What is the point of voting for a woman if she will not be doing her job right?" And that's pretty much what we saw across the board, in the sense that and speaks to the relationship between female candidates and male allies. It is important, let's say, to build a comprehensive program that speaks not only to women, but also to the entire population. And yeah, that being said, I will basically move to give the floor to Lenny, who will present some of the most interesting recommendations coming out of the research.
Thank you, Gustavo. I'm Lenny Wild. I'm a research consultant with GPG, and I've been supporting Gustavo and colleagues with this study. And I'm just going to very briefly talk about some of the practical ideas and suggestions that we feel come out of the research, especially for women candidates. As Gustavo has been saying, and as I'm sure you are all aware, there is this very strong sense of pessimism and worries about the future. But there is also some optimism about municipal elections and about the potential for some positive change to happen, even though there's a big variety about the level of expectation of how much change that will be. But there are some positives. And I think given that, there's this strong preference from the people that were interviewed and spoken to as part of the research for candidates to show very pragmatic, practical solutions to the local problems that people face. As Gustavo said, a lot of the women voters who we spoke to didn't necessarily feel that municipal governments were doing all they could to keep them safe, whether that's around street lighting or other threats that they face. So women candidates have an opportunity here to explain what they would do differently in those roles. Similarly, young people, as Gustavo was highlighting, really want to feel a sense of change happening somewhere. So again, what was interesting was across all the groups, there was this sense that getting more women into municipal governments would give that sense of change. And that's a real positive for those candidates in terms of describing what they bring. But as Gustavo said, you can't just say, vote for me because I'm a woman. It's also about showing that you have a set of practical solutions you offer to the issues that people are raising. And voters really want to hear about your experience and have you demonstrate your credibility to offer those solutions. So if you're a new candidate, it's about describing what else have you done in your community? What other experience do you have that shows you've provided leadership, that you can offer solutions, that you have that credibility to deliver if you are elected? So people want the personal story, but they also want to know about your experience. And in terms of communication, there's a very strong preference, as I'm sure many of you are already aware, for clear communication and face-to-face engagement. So there are different views about whether voters want written programs, manifestos, or more visual presentation, social media, and clearly younger groups like the latter and are interested in candidates who can use endorsers on social media, young endorsers and so on to engage them. But it is about having a balanced strategy. Again, across all age groups, people wanted face-to-face communications. So it's thinking about those different public spaces where you can be presenting your messages to different audiences. The difference between speaking in schools, town halls, parks, and so on. And interestingly, there was a lot of emphasis or appetite for using those public gatherings and workshops, not just to promote individual candidates, but to really be creating awareness about the importance of participating in elections, the extent to which municipalities can be potential vehicles for change, highlighting what positives they have brought or could bring in the future, offering training and explaining how to vote, what documents you need. So those public meetings are not just a forum for individuals to present themselves, but to really help with that wider engagement and encouraging voter turnout. The next slide, please, Gustavo. Thank you. But, you know, for women, and I'm sure many of you are already aware of this, there is a real need to take care, particularly in terms of face-to-face campaigns. You know, I'm sure we're all aware there are real risks for harassment, intimidation, threats against women. So it's about, again, extra care and planning. If you're conducting face-to-face campaigns, it's doing it part of a team with campaign staff, volunteers, and hopefully some of the male allies that Emily was talking about coming out to support you. There are also various trainings you can access, for example, in how to deal with the potential of online harassment if social media is going to be a big part of your campaign. So it's about making sure that you have also thought through what some of the threats can be and what steps can be taken. And as Gustavo said, there are a range of these wider barriers to voting that can really affect the chances of candidates too, because you need people to be turning out to vote on the day. So where possible, it's about trying to mobilize voters as much as you can. We talked about using public meetings and face-to-face engagement to also explain where to vote, what documents to bring, making sure people are aware of what the process is. We also wondered, as part of the research, whether there could be scope to perhaps further lobby municipal governments and the electoral authority to provide more support, for example, in terms of transport subsidies, or thinking about extending some of the voting periods in places where voters are likely having to travel long distances to vote. So is there anything in the future that can be pushed for to try to help? But as I said, at all times, it's also about sharing that information on how to vote, what documents you need. And also there's scope, obviously, for candidates to be sharing with voters the details of various helplines and organizations that can provide support, where you can report on any intimidation or attempts to influence voting. So it's giving people the information they might need if they are being influenced as well. So, I mean, overall, clearly, there are some real challenges in terms of how voters feel and the crisis, particularly at national level. But hopefully there's some scope for optimism and some practical ideas and suggestions about where to focus in the future campaigns as well. Many thanks.
Thank you so much. عن جد شكرا كتير لليني ويلد اللي ما عرفت عنها، بعتذر من قبل. هي باحثة ومستشارة.
Thank you, Lenny Wales. I'm sorry I didn't introduce you from the beginning. You are a senior researcher and policy advisor and a research associate with the Overseas Development Institute. Lenny is a recognized leader on doing development differently, with particular interest in the politics and management of aid. And this is what we need in Lebanon. She is interested in the politics and managing the aid and institutional reforms. She's interested in politics. She has worked in different donor agencies and provides advice to different governmental and non-governmental organizations. I couldn't but introduce Leni because we want, as women candidates, to benefit from her presence or to benefit from her expertise. Leni Wild and Dr. Gustavo and Vicky, Halima, and Ali also will introduce Ali. Of course, there are many questions after these recommendations. I felt like we have reached the elections already. When we start talking about the elections, how it's going to be, how we're going to prepare ourselves as women candidates. Thank you for this overview. Thank you again for this amazing study. Really, it is built on the pain and suffering, real pain and suffering. Thank you again. I would like now to move to benefit, of course, more from the dear friend, Dr. Halima Kakour, to know about the results or the outcomes of these results. How can we benefit the impact of these recommendations? Dr. Halima Kakour is a member of the Lebanese Parliament and, of course, is one of
دكتورة حليمة
positive steps that happened in 2022 elections. Dr. Halima Kakour holds a PhD in public international law. She was elected as an MP in the parliamentary
لدى
election
GPG اللي هي
22 with the civil society list. She is a consultant at the or advisor at GPG. She is a lecturer at the Faculty of Law and Political Sciences at the Lebanese University. She is a trainer and researcher in local development, human rights, and gender equality. Dr. Halima is a founding member of LNA Social Democratic Party. Lana. She is a trainer and consultant in many international and local organizations in the field of gender, leadership, and good governance and local development and others, of course, that Dr. Halima has. This is why Dr. Halima is the main partner with us today, NGPG, and of course, all the women knows her, all the candidates know her. She's already trained them, she worked with them closely, and she was still until now, despite of the situation, despite of everything, despite the situation in the Lebanese parliament and her daily work. Dr. Halima is with us today. She has already booked her time for 1 hour and a half or 2 hours to tell for those women candidates on how can we benefit from this study and research, because you were a previous woman candidate and you won, and this is one of the positive recommendations. Dr. Halima, tell us more. Tell those women candidates more. How can we benefit from this study directly so that we won't leave after 1 hour and a half having such an important study, having all of these experts who are valuable to all of us without use. Thank you. Thank you for this introduction, Josephine. Really, I feel honored to be friends with you, to be partner with you on this project. I'm really happy to see Emily, Victoria, Ali and Gustavo, and Lenny. I'm honored to work with all of you. I know that you are an added value to everything we're doing in Lebanon because we cannot do anything without research. I cannot stress this enough. As a woman, no woman can be in this elections without knowing what's going on. She wants to know what's the given, what are the problems, how to face these problems. She cannot know by herself just to listen to the experience from one person or the other. She needs to build on scientific research. She needs to have an objective idea. She needs to be prepared mentally and psychologically. I want to share my experience when I worked on a study with UN Women about the obstacles that women face. What happened with women? I have learned a lot. I start reading the other studies with our study. I really see scientifically 75% of women what happened to them. Like I have seen now what women face, how they can prepare themselves. I went and I knew what I'm going to face, and I put a solution to every problem, even violence against women and politics and this aggression and the online violence that we face on the social media. It needs the preparation, moral and psychological preparation before talking about the practical solutions that you're going to face all the problems. Yes, you need to be ready psychologically, morally, mentally. And I am one of the women that without these studies and research, I wouldn't be prepared to know what's going on. For example, it's written that there are legal problems, logistic barriers also. There is the family politics, the bribes, the pressure from your family, clientelism, all of this mentality. I was expecting everything, and I knew how I'm going to face it with the limited resources that I have, but I was able to face them. I also want to tell you when there is clientelism, I focus to women and youth because the youth and women usually are less subject to clientelism and to receive bribes. So these, the older people usually being exploited by this clientelism, and they were taking and exerting on their people and their tribe. So I didn't focus on them. I focused on the women and the youth. Every problem, I knew how to face it in my campaign. The social media is very important. The study that you said we cannot only focus on the social media or door to door. I need to focus on the two because we need to combine. We need to know whom we are targeting. We're targeting to everyone, all the people. But I want to focus on the youth, and I want to know how I'm going to deal with them, how I'm going to talk to them, to talk to those youth, how I'm going to share with them my campaign. I've done like this study had told me. I've done door to door. And I've used audiovisual tools. I prepared videos. I prepared something written. I went to door because we need to know whom should we target and how to target them. And they're not all the same. It's very important. This study that you told us, there are women, the youth is like this, the women like this, the elderly like this. No one can launch a electoral campaign without specifying the targets and the target groups. Also, in this study, they said there is family pressure. Of course, there is family pressure. And I'm one of the people who can tell you that until now, half of the family do not talk to me and they're still fighting me because I ran for this election without taking their permission. And I told them that's my right. And I do not need the permission or approval of everyone, of anyone. And I'm still a victim of rumors and of violence, but I knew what to do. I talked to the youth in my family and I told them I have a program and it's my right. I respect the opinion of the others in my family, and until now, I respect them. But it's my opinion, it's my right, and you need to respect my opinion and my right. And I've spent 4 years talking to them. It took me time to deal with the family as a tribe. There is this tribal affiliation, not the family as a social unit. No, the family, there is the politics in this family that get involved that will tell women whether you have the right to run for candidacy or not. And when you have the right to run for candidates or
هيدا شيء
not.
وبعدني
I'm one of the people who have faced
عم
this
اجاوب
tribe, who has faced my family, and I'm still facing them with
حقي
love and facing them with respect, but with strict measures taken. No one will steal my rights from me. But how are we going to talk to women and youth? How can we manage this pressure that we're facing on a daily basis? We need to know this before, because if we didn't know that, we cannot face them. This study told us what women are facing from this family unit to be prepared, because there are two solutions. Either you say there is a family pressure and I stay home, or there is a family pressure and how I'm going to deal with it. In my opinion, this is what I have. We do not have other choices. The first choice, which is to sit at home, stay at home, this has gone. No, when we say we want to get trained and we want to be candidates, this is the choice that we have. So what are the obstacles? How are we going to reduce the obstacles? I'm really happy with the recommendations that you have come up with that says how we need to convince the people to vote for us.
41 ل
And this is
42%
true. 41 or
الأخيرة
42% voted in the electoral elections. Yes,
اليأس
the
عم
turnout
بيزيد
was very low. And the people are
كل سنة عن سنة
getting more and more desperate and pessimistic and frustrated in
حالها
Lebanon. Every year we have one fight, which is to give the hope for
مع
the people, not alone. Together, the candidates with the
عمل الجميع
voter, with the people, they need to give the hope
لكم
among the people to work together. This is a real challenge for me and for you.
لبنان
But
يرجع
always we want to say there's only
وبشباب
Lebanon. How this is how we can save Lebanon, with the people, with the women, with the youth, with the man. This is how we can save Lebanon. This is
جد
why we would like to ask for solidarity to work together. And this is a real challenge for me and for everyone. There is something also that I have liked in this study. Women are saying from different political parties, I'm not interested if it's women or men, or of men. I wanted to be qualified and skilled. Yes, this is very important, by the way. We've seen this in the elections. Some people are not interested if Halima is a man or woman. They want Halima to well represent them in the parliament. She is well qualified, and this is why I wasn't talking to them. There are many women, few only in our community, who is aware of this gender diversity that we have. But I want someone to be able to represent me. This is why I knew that people won't only vote for me as a woman. I really had the challenge, which is the minority, this minority that have gender awareness. And the majority want to see the power. So yes, many women are powered and are strong. And I think the women who are well qualified and have the power in our communities are much more than men. I know from our universities, the graduates are more women and qualified women. I'm a lecturer, I'm a university professor, and I know. So where's the problem? The problem is we want to show our powers, our skills, our qualifications, and our competences. We want to show them to the people. How we're going to do so? Through the trainings of GPG that meet with the study that they have worked on. There is the leadership of women,
تحكي مع
the
كافة
competence of women, how they're going to talk, how to talk with different categories. Also, what I really like in the recommendations is that they're talking about awareness, how important it is. Yes, awareness is very important. I've been for the past 20 years raising awareness through seminars, through trainings, through workshops. But maybe this campaign, this door to door, this is the highest level of awareness that I have done because the people in the elections, they want to listen to the candidates. This is an opportunity to raise our voice, even if we failed in the elections. We want, even
كفؤ
if we lose. So we want to tell them why we're candidates. What does it mean to have a qualified, competent, to have a productive municipality? What kind of municipality that you're going to have? Who are the women who will be candidates in the municipality? This
بدي
is an
ابرد دور دور وهلا
opportunity to raise
ببرد
awareness. Because now, if I want to go door to door, and I still do door to door, but the people who invite me during the elections, it's much more than now. This is an opportunity before the elections to go door to door and to say how important it is for women and men to participate, to have an electoral agenda, to have a productive municipality, about local governance, how important this is, to put the SDGs 2030 agenda. SDGs also, this is our opportunity. How are we going to raise awareness? Alone? Of course not. But this is why I would like to say in conclusion that this study is very important for three things. For the legislators, and I'm one of them, to know what should I do inside the parliament. Second, important for the women candidates and male candidates because the male candidates because the important
نساء ورجال في
of
عنا
GPG
ميل
and the few only organizations are doing it is that they're
تعاون
communicating with women and men. We have male allies. We're not saying let us
شركاء
encourage women and exclude men. No, we cannot do so. Our
وانا
partners are
مبسوطه
men. We have men allies in this fight, and this is how why this
ورجال
project is important. And I'm really happy that in the last
شو
training I
فينا
talked with women and men. They're coming together. Their partners. They say, what can
معايير
we do? This is GPG. GPG. And wow, this is
كمان
amazing. Organizations shouldn't train women alone.
لازم يعرفوا شو
Men need empowerment, need training because they need to know the gender roles. They
النساء لا
need to know what's happening with women. They need to be with
والرجال
women
والمرأة
because if women reach not only to serve women, to serve men and women in the
النساء بعد
community.
هي قضية
They
كثير
need to know that the cause of women is not the cause of women only, it's the cause of the whole society. And this is what happened with GPG, I believe. It is answering the challenges that we are facing. So this is why it's important to legislators, it's important for women and men candidates, and it's important for all the organizations and institutions to reschedule and redraft their programs and their agendas, specifying the needs together. The three factors together, the three elements, the legislators, the women and men candidates, we and the organizations, we can work together. I'm really happy. I'd like to ask Ali's team. I really appreciate your work, your honesty in work. And from GPG, I'd like to ask you that all the recommendations, let us interpret them. Now, in this subcommittee for the defense committee, there is more than two or three bills for the municipality because there are legal barriers that were shown. Let us bring them, study them together, see if all the recommendations are being taken into consideration and those bills. Have we missed something? I can work together with you. If there's things that were not taken into consideration, so yes, I'll present it to this committee and we can work together based on the study. There is another thing, accountability. The Minister of Interior, is he not doing some of his jobs according to this recommendation? I will present a written accountability in collaboration with Ali, Vicky, Josephine, with all of us, with our study and expertise. We submit a written
بطريقة
accountability and hold this minister accountable. I will submit it to the minister and to the Lebanese parliament. Officially, I submit it to them and see what can we do together. I would like to thank you all. Thank you. I'm still partner with you in this project now and forever. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Halima. I cannot say anything more. I totally agree with you. I cannot
خالد
agree more. 200%,
تعليقك
not only
على
100, for everything you said, for every word you said, for
اليوم
your comment
كمشرعين
on how the study was
نحط
conducted,
على
how we can benefit from it today as legislators, and of course to put it on the right track and to submit it to the committees
يمكن
that
يكون
is
معنا
studying the municipality law. We don't know the elections when it's going to be. We might have 1 year to prepare this bill, to put into consideration all the recommendations that you have drafted. The recommendations of today in this presentation was clear. and it was comprehensive. It included all the opinions. So together, hand in hand, we'll be able to turn them into laws, not only recommendations, and to put them in study, and no one will take them into consideration. Thank you once again, Dr. Halime. Allow me again to a very dear friend whom we have worked together with. He's not a guest. He is one of the group, a person who has worked on the ground since a long time ago. He is Ali Slim. He
في الجمعية
is the executive director
بلادي عين
at the Lebanese Association for Democratic Elections.
لعام 2022
He is
الماجستير في العلوم
trainer on gender political participation. He holds a master's
البرلمان.
degree in political science and international relations from the University of Lebanon in Lebanon. He is interested in the electoral systems and gender political participation, especially for the marginalized groups. He's interested in the good governance and accountability during crisis. Ali, I'll give you more than 10 minutes because I don't know
مهمة واستفدنا
the
منها
elections for 2022, how important it is.
تحديات كتير كبيرة عليهم.
We have female candidates.
حضراتكم راقبتوا الانتخابات بأكبر الأقلام وبال
We have participated in the elections, so we knew Lebanon.
كان عندكم متطوعين بأغلب أقلام
We
الانتخابات.
have volunteers.
في شيء حطيتوه بالرابور تبعكم، في شيء ما
We have seen many things. There are things in your report. There are other things that you didn't.
حطيت عليه نفيدهم لهالسيدات من
We
هالتحديات.
want to be added value to those women, and from these challenges that women has faced, we're not saying that we cannot overcome these challenges. Of course we can, but we need to know about them, to be ready, and to prepare ourselves to face them. Ali, I'd like to give you the floor, and I'll leave the question till the end because now I have many questions. I'll give the floor at the question until the end. Thank you, Josephine. I'm really happy to be with you today, with you and the global, with GPG, Global Partners Governance. And of course, we're starting this week with a very good meeting. Thank you all. As to the challenges,
حابب كمان بس بلش بشغله هيك مثل ستيتمنت كثير صغير.
I want to start with a very small statement.
هيدا ما في شك منه. بس كمان بدنا نطلع.
Of course, it's very bad that this municipality elections were postponed.
تقدر تكون عم بتحضر أكثر لحملاتها الانتخابية إذا بحال.
We want women to benefit from this time and to, in case they have decided to run for candidacy. This is an opportunity. So we need to always see the positive part of what happened, and we'll say how the women can prepare for this election. There are things that are being repeated from one election to the other, the municipality to the parliament to the municipality. And municipality is much more difficult. Many believe that the municipality elections is easier. No, usually the pressure is more because there is the family involvement, there is the tribal involvement. It's always much more difficult than the parliamentary election. Why we're saying that it's a real barrier? Because the election, the family play a very important role. This plays a very important role. The family and here I'd like to go to 2016. I know the situation is has changed, but we're still working about a patriarchal system. That there is an alliance, and also women, if she's married and she's not getting the acceptance of the of her husband or the family, for example, that means the father and the mother, then she will have real difficulty to run for candidacy. And in the end, in the last referendum in 2016 and in the municipality elections, less than 10% out of the women who were not getting the acceptance from her family, whether the small family or bigger family, and were able to launch and to participate in this election. So there is a real barrier that hinder women candidates to And this is something very important that hinder women's candidates to participate. Man is not facing this problem. There is the financial pressure also, and also women participate them, and we see how we're going to overcome them. The family pressure, the financial pressure in the municipality is more than the parliamentary. Why? Because in the parliamentary elections, someone can monitor the funding monitoring. We know the members of the supervisory committee. I'm not saying secret, they didn't do their job in the parliamentary elections or the previous one, but that doesn't mean the entity is not important of this committee. We need to know how to be spent, but in the municipality elections, it's not there. No one is supervising the spending, the electoral spending. It's open for those who have access to the financial
بلدية
resources
تبعولتهم
and who have political influence
هي
in the areas
أكبر
and in
يربح
the municipalities.
على حسب
They're there, they have the priorities,
المالية
and they can win at the expense of women. So the financial pressure exists, and women face them more than men. And if we want to go back also to the Central Statistic Department, the percentage of women who are involved in the work is less than men who are involved. Not because they are women and because they do not have the qualifications or do not have the competence, but because the rules and everything create an obstacle. And this is why we reached a place where women cannot work and cannot present their job. And of course, this is a pressure. And to what extent they have access. Also, in our studies,
هي
and it's not only in the elections,
في عنا
but
ضغوط
the elections and in the parliamentary elections, we have
حتى المرأة
political parties pressure, and it starts inside the political parties.
مش هي دايما
Even women
النقطة
who is member of
ترشيحها
political parties is not the number one or the priority among their political
في بعض
parties to choose them in her own electoral
منا من
area. So some of those political
عند
parties were
الإنفلونسر
referring to women who are not member in their political parties, but they go to the
إعلامي
influencer. Maybe she's a public figure, maybe she's a media
ليه
actor, and she asked them to run for
كينات
candidacy, and she'll be working under the umbrella of the political parties, whereas we
وسياسة
have well qualified women leaders who are members
لجنة
of
المرأة
political parties. They talk about politics, and they're not only members of the women's committee. No, they talk about politics. They are in the front lines, but always it's being marginalized when we talk about the nomination during the elections. Why? Because always in the political party they see the candidate as a number, and to what extent they can bring funding.
لأنه
And
النساء
this is a real obstacle because women do not have this economic
للمجال الاقتصادي
empowerment or the capacity to reach. Always there is this exclusion, and this work needs to be done ahead of time from the political parties. The political party cannot marginalize the women all the time, and during the elections or 1 year before the elections, they will say, I do not have women. You were doing everything not to put her in the front line, and you were trying to limit her role in specific places because this is how you're convinced, and this is how you believe the role of women should be. Whereas women can play a much greater role, and we've seen this already. And I don't want to give examples, but we all see and we all know that Shafir, Vicky, Halima, we all know women leaders in their parties, and even in the elections, they have taken the initiatives and they're member in the parliament. But when we reach the elections or the municipality elections, no one heard about them because they want to bring influential candidates. So we have pressures. But I want to focus on the municipality elections. We have the religious pressure, and we need to recognize that there is religious pressure, the pressure of the religious leaders. Let us name them as it is. The religious leaders
حصبية
pressures, and this
معناها
happened in 2016 in Hasbaya area. We have monitored Hasbaya, and we said that,
تسحب
and
ترشيح
many political parties there in
وبيعترفوا
Hasbaya was asked to withdraw the candidacy of
وبالثورة
some of the
بالعمل
women
السياسي لا
because they
بالبلدي
consider women's role is not in the municipality and not in the political sphere, not in the municipality and not in the parliamentary one. We go back to the gender roles that Halima talked about, and I believe the research has pinpoint on it and highlighted. And the gender roles really exert a pressure on women, but there is a hope that we need to focus on. In 2016, when the municipality elections happened, women were getting their power because of the movement of 2015, which was طلعت حتمون, we want to hold them accountable, بدنا نحاسب, and these social demonstrations that happened, and women, a social movement, and women played a very important role, and they were on the front line. In 2019, there was the intifada, the revolution, the demonstration, the movement, whatever you want to call it. Women also were in the front line and were
2019
leaders. But what's nice in this, that in 2009,
دارية
the
وبحقوق
speech
النساء
related to the gender roles and women's rights wasn't limited only to women.
بيشيروا من قبل الفئات
It
العمرية
was being heard by men, by
الخطاب
different age categories. So this is why this
معني
speech and these rights has turned from
وصارت قضية رأي
rights
عام
related to certain marginalized social categories and components to
ب
a public opinion issue. And we've seen in the World International
2010
Day in 2020, in March 8,
في
2020,
عنا آلاف الأشخاص
when the demonstration happened in the Women
فينا
International
نشوف
Day, thousands of people participated on the ground. We didn't see this
صار
before in the previous years. Why?
والفئات المهمشة هي
Because women's role and the marginalized
المومنتم
rights role played a very important issue. It is
ايه نخسر
related to public opinion. Maybe we've lost the momentum, but yes, we lost a little bit, and we might not blame ourselves what we're losing because there are many issues that surface on the floor, which is the living conditions and the economic situation. But I believe the mobilization, now it's time to focus on it, and this is why I have said if the municipality elections, when it was postponed, it's bad for democracy, but it's an opportunity also that we need to benefit from. So now we have around 75 attendees who participated now in us, but we have more than 62 or 68 potential candidates. Vicky has mentioned about some of these issues about the expertise. Vicky also, and Halima has experience, but in my study, in the study, there are certain ideas that I want to shed the light on. We want to know who are our voters in the area, in the zone. We want to know who are they. Second, we want to know the direct communication with the voters. This is much more important than the indirect communication. It's very important to communicate. What do I mean by direct and indirect communication with them? And both of them are important. Halima has mentioned something very important, that the door-to-door and to talk to the voters, because it's very important for the voters to listen to them. And this is one of the most important points that we need to focus on. Josephine, you've done it, and Vicky has done it, and all of you, of course, the direct communication with the voters. Of course, the voters, maybe they're bored. They don't want to listen to us all the time. We want to listen to them. And this is very important. This happened before the elections, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, even sometimes 1 year before the election. So when can we do it? We can do it today. Yesterday, we should have done it. We need to start working on this door-to-door. And this won't cost money. Of course, it needs time, but it doesn't cost money. There is a group of volunteers.
ممكن
We have the
يكونوا عم
parents, we have the family,
هيدا
we
الموضوع نحن
have the
ساكنين
friends
فينا نكون عم نتواصل بشكل
who
مباشر
might
هي بس
help us.
بدها خطة
We are
عمل
living in this area. We can communicate directly with them, but it needs just a plan of action somehow. Why we're going to listen to them? As soon as we listen to the people who are in this area, we can know their needs, and we can shed the light on the electoral agenda, and we can focus on it. We don't know, I don't know who, we don't want a consultant, because of course if there is money then it would be better, but we can shed the light on our electoral agenda based on our needs. How can we do needs assessment? How can we know them? We need to identify the needs after to listen to the people in this area. So this is when we can focus on this.
طيب
لأنه
تمام تمام
اوكي
انا
Ali, we need to leave time to the questions that Josephine is saying.
عن جد حابب نعمل نقاش ثاني
Yes, what I want to say. Really, we need to do another
ونص هي بعدها كمان
discussion. We
كتير
really need to talk about other issues. This 1 hour and a half
ايضا يعتبر
very
انه
short time, but no one should consider
النساء هن خسروا
that if you run for candidacy and lost among the women that they mean they lost. No, losing and winning shouldn't be measured in this way. If I've reached the parliament or the local council, no. We need to know that there are women who are candidates. They have the influence, the competence. They can talk about politics. This marginalization that women are facing, where women can try to impose it. I believe, in my opinion, this is a real change. This is the change that we want. This is the positive change that we want. We cannot just change the law overnight. We want to impose a speech that focuses on the rights. Human rights is very important, and we need to build on it. But I'm ready to answer any questions. Again, this type of discussion won't finish in 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. Thank you, Ali. You're absolutely right. As you have said, I told Lenny, I felt that we have arrived the elections, and the elections is tomorrow, and everyone is getting ready and is going to the elections. Thank you, Ali. I want to remind you that yes, we have maybe 80 participants, but we have 2 centers in Bika that has received more than 40 women now recently, where they're participating with us, and they're on 1 laptop, so we're much more than 80. Some people are in 1 room. They're watching us, so I'd like to thank them. I would like to remind you that last is one of the partners of GPG. They've been working with us for the past 4 years. They're working with us on the ground. They're helping us to reach those women. Once again, I want to seize the opportunity to thank LOST also for their support and for their partnership. I'd like to move now to the Q&A. I know that women have important questions. I have questions. I'll leave them till the end. You can ask your question to all of the people who are with us. We'll start by Vicky. Vicky is a former candidate for the parliamentary and municipality elections, and she is a council member for 2 sessions, 2001, 2016. You can ask her many questions. You have Gustavo. We have Lenny. Also, they are political advisors, and you can ask them questions based on their experience. Ali also already monitored the elections, knows the problems. We have Dr. Halima, who has won the elections and have tools
بتعرفوا كتير منيح
for the winning and for the victory. We
المرأة
have Mu'taz, whom you know quite well, who know the needs of women on the ground.
انتوا
What's
بالضبط
happening, has followed up for the past 2 years on this issue. So he knows what do you need. And of course, we have Emily,
وضع بلبنان
who
صار عندها خبرة كتير كبيرة على
is the director of GPG and knows the situation in Lebanon. She has experience in the Lebanese context. Please ask all of your questions. It's now or never. No, of course, there will be other opportunities, but I'll give you the floor with whom you'd like us.
فينا نحطهم بالكيو اند اي. بتخيل صار عندنا 8 أسئلة. يلا نحاول نكون عم بقريهم.
جوزيفين، أنا في واحد من الأسئلة عبالي جاوب عليه إذا ممكن.
يلا تفضل.
Josephine, I wanted to answer one of the questions. Yes.
هو العامل يلي بيشجع
There is a question about what is the factor that
سواء من ناحية
encourage the youth to participate in the elections, whether
من الأشياء
for
يلي
candidacy or voting.
عم
Among the
نحكي
things that we really noticed in the focus groups, so when we were talking,
eager
is
يعني
that
عندهم
the youth
تشوق لحتى يشاركوا بهذا
is
الانتخابات.
eager.
فكرة إنه الشباب
They're eager to participate in this
السياسة
election.
بلبنان
The idea that the youth are separated
هيدا
from
المحلي
politics or are ignoring politics, this is not true, especially
كل
at the
يوم
local level. Those who are living in the country and are
أشخاص
facing
بدهم
every day a different problem in their daily life, those people
مفتكرين
want to participate. However, if we want to
إنه نحن
believe
نطرح
and to
عليهم
think
أفكار
that the participation of the youth is to
أو
impose
نحن
our ideas on them and they will come just to participate, or
منا مش هي
we will
المشاركة
work on projects and they will benefit from it. This is,
في إشراك لإلهم من أول خطوة يعني
however,
مشاركة
if
بوضع
there is
البرنامج
participation from the beginning, from the first step, that means
بوضع
we
أي
involve them in working on the agenda, electoral agenda, in the new political mechanism, to share with them the strategic planning for the municipality, for example. Be sure that they will participate and they will participate with great numbers. And we've seen this in the
الأشخاص
parliamentary elections, whether towards the people who are living in Lebanon or those who are voted from outside the country.
المشاركة
So the
الشبابية
idea
أساسية فأنا
of
بدي
the
أقول
youth participation is something very important. I'd like to thank Dua for the question.
إنه هن دور
However, please let us be convinced that their role is
مستفيدين
important as partners, not as beneficiaries.
معهم
If we've
كشركاء
seen them and dealt with them as main partners
فأكيد رح يكون
in this
في
election, then of course there will be participation. Thank you, Vicky. I'll give the floor to Ali because he has another question. What Vicky talked about is very important. There's something very important that we have noticed also in a meeting with OND 1 week ago, I think, in Nahr Ibrahim. There's something very important, by the way. They told us that the presence was among the youth. However, you know where's the problem? The political parties, and I repeat and say, the political work and the political parties' work is very important in the country. However, the political parties' problems and the political tension and the problem that we really were frustrated are trying to impose in the local elections. And this is why there is this youth, they are being hesitant. This is why it's very important
الفئة
for
العمرية
the women
الشبابية
candidates to be able to make
نرجع
this age category to
والخ-
participate, to claim them back. We need to bring this development speech again. We need to put them in our speeches. Not to focus on it from a political point of view, because what interests people is how we're going to fix the roads, how we're going to provide lighting in the streets,
على الكل
in the municipality. I'm not interested how the political parties, the Kata'ib, the Hezbollah, the movements, the Lebanese forces, how they're fighting with each other. We need to focus on the development. This is how we need to what we need to focus on in the speech. It's something very important. We need to focus on the development. And this is how we can encourage them to participate in the elections. To answer Omnia's question, and Ali told us it's really in the details. The problem is in the details. How the female candidates in 2016 and in 2018
كانوا يت...
and the parliamentary elections, how they were communicating
لانه مثل
with
ما
us.
بيقولوا المجال
And we didn't mention them in the report because, as we have
هو
said, it is confidential somehow.
الحزب السياسي وهن منضويات داخل
It's how the political party dealt with them. Their candidates, they are members, and those political candidates, they were oppressing them.
الحزب تبعهم
They told them, even they threatened them from inside the political party
اذا بدهم
to
يرشحوا
not run for elections. Or
انتخابيه
if they want to do so, they put them
يوصلوا ما بيقدروا
in
ينتخبوا
places and in areas where they know
مش معناته
that they cannot win. And I'll give an example.
امراه
It
ببشر
doesn't mean this happens. As if Hezbollah, for example, is
قلب النبطيه
sending a woman to be
يقدر
candidate in Bshar, or the Lebanese forces will send a
من
candidate to
نساء
Al-Nabatiyya. They know that they will not win, but they're just saying that as if we are encouraging women. Ali, there is
أو
a question. Do you think
حاب
postponing the elections will hurt women
أعطي لحالي
or might be emotive to her?
الانتخابات أكيد سيء جدا ونحن
I
كنا
want to
ضد
say that, of course, postponing the elections is something bad, and we were against it. However, if
معنا
the
وقت
elections were postponed for a couple of months, we have time to prepare to benefit from the study that was presented today, to take into consideration all of these recommendations, to benefit also from the
program
program, the mentoring program that we are focusing on,
نسمع أكثر
because the people are helping us to listen more, to know what is the problem on the ground, to try to benefit
لكن
from this time.
حملة انتخابية على
So it's lost for the state, but it's not lost for the women. This is why when we say this, we're not saying that we need to postpone the elections, but if it was
فرصة
postponed,
حقيقية
we want to benefit from this and we want to turn it into a good opportunity. In 2010, the first time I ran for candidacy, there was no GPG. We do not have a mentor to know how I'm going to launch this elections and to participate in this elections.
كنت لحالي
I really found it difficult. I was the first woman in Kisarwain who was a candidate. You're not alone. You have experts who are helping you.
معكم
You have international organizations.
مرشدين معكم فما بتخيل
You have
هيدا
advisors, consultants,
بالعكس هيدي فرصة
mentors. So this won't be an obstacle. This is an opportunity for all of you to prepare for the elections. Is there any
الأحزاب اللي هي
other question? Yes, I think one that Elian has asked, which is about the political parties that were against women candidates, and they have recognized, they all said they're against the quota, the women quota. They said they're all
بتقولوا إنه
helping the women. When they tell them, they will say, of course, I encourage women. I'm half of a political parties
يعني
women. Yes, but not on the front liner.
باللجنة السياسية
بالخطوط
الأساسية
الأمامية إيه أو
بالخطوط
باللجان صح
الأمامية
عندهم بالمراكز القيادية
Yes,
جوزيفين.
yes, not on the front liners. Yes,
كل
yes.
الأحزاب يعني
Not in the
حتى
leadership positions.
أمس
Yes, Josephine. Yes, you're right. So all the political parties, even recently, the
حتى مع
Lebanese
جورج عدوان
Forces Party, we have visited
نائب
them, where they say with women, we have talked to George Adouin directly. He's an MP and he's a legislator. They say, I'm against the quota.
صح
We told him,
ف
should we say we're against the quota? He said, no, give us an opportunity.
صرح إنه هي مع وجود
Even the
المرأة
political parties who say, declare that they support women, they're against women quota. They consider it
ما بعرف
a weak point.
أسئلة لأميلي
So there are many problems. Of course, there are questions for Emily. Emily,
تفضلي
بليز
يلا
بس بهيدا
يلا
الموضوع السؤال
Josephine, just when it comes to this issue, the question about how can the political parties exert the pressure on women, there's one point that I would like to add. The political parties choose who represent them, and of course, we know that the TV really has influence on the public opinion. This is why when there are political agendas
مش رح اقول دايما بس باغلب
present,
الوقت
always those who
هيدا عم بيساهم على
most of
الاقل
those who represent them are men. This is
بال
contributing in the perception.
نحو مشاركة المرأة السياسية انه تبين هي اضعف
And
هيدا
the
النقطة
perception towards women's
اللي
participation
ذكرها
to look like she's weaker. And the second point that Ali
زي
has
بيشتغل
mentioned,
لحتى الصوت التفضيلي يروح
when the political
للشخص اللي عم
parties has worked for the preferential vote to go to
مثل ما
the
علي ذكر
person the candidate who represent them and who was a man. And as
فهيدا
Ali
ضعف
said, those women were from outside the political parties.
انه ما
This
اخذ
has undermined the presence of women because they show
لان
that
منع
it hasn't taken votes, but it hasn't taken votes
الزملاء
because it wasn't given, or she wasn't given the same opportunity as men
بس بدي
and
احكي
as
عن
other colleagues.
يعني المكانات
So
الانتخابية
this is
آه،
why I want to talk about this issue. There is the
انتخابات الاحزاب
electoral teams and the media presence
تجاوب على هذا السؤال
and the
ش-
issues that why political parties undermine women's presence.
في سؤال لأميلي أكيد للمشروع رح أتركه
Thank
للآخر
you, Vicky. There is a question for Emily.
شوي أكثر على
I will leave it till the end.
القانون
I will
الانتخابي
focus now
وأيضا
only on the
القانون العملي في سؤال
electoral law and the
لدكتورة
study that was
حليمة
conducted. There's a question from Mira
ممكن
to
نقدر
Dr. Halima
نغير السياسة عن
about
العمل
whether we can change the law and separate between politics and the local development. And of course, in separating the politics, they're asking, do you think the new proportional law
وصول المرأة اللبنانية لصنع
will it
القرار
happen women to reach decision-making positions? And of course, the decentralization that they're talking about in a huge way. Do you think the decentralization can help more women to reach decision-making positions? I don't know, Dr. Halima, in the legislations that you are studying nowadays, in the decentralization law, and you have a proportionality law for the elections, and you have quota for the elections.
مجلس الوزراء 50% ما
And
بعرف
the
إذا
Prime Minister has asked for the 50%. I don't know if I've asked for it
فما بعرف
officially, but he has talked about it. The question is for you.
خلينا نحكي أول شيء نفصل السياسي عن البلدية مش مطلوب.
First, separate the politics from the municipality. We're not. This is not what we need. The political parties have the right to run for candidates, to have candidates, and to focus on development. For example, I'm an economic, social, political party. I believe development is very important. I believe the social identity is important.
الفلسفة السياسية اللي أنا بتبعها.
And my political philosophy that I believe in, this is my opinion. This is the right to everyone. But the problem is not only in politics. It's not a problem for a political party who's trying their political program. It's a problem of monopolization, oppression, clientelism, and using the families and exerting pressure on the families and using their tribal relationship. This is the problem in the politics, not the politics itself.
لانتظام
The
العمل
political
السياسي
parties work.
مجتمع ديمقراطي على أحزاب سياسية، ولكن عن أي
It's
أحزاب
very
سياسية
important.
عم نحكي عن الناس اللي بتستعمل كوتا عائلية، كوتا
However,
طائفية.
which political parties you're talking about? You're talking about the people who are using the quota
عم نحكي
and the gender quota. They're talking about everything. Which political parties we're talking about? About political parties. There's something that no one talked about, the social isolation. I might not give you money and I might not spend, but no one will buy from your shop in your village. Your hairdresser, they want to go to you. You know what? They will reject him in the community. So what can he do? So it's not about the politics, but
بالمعايير الديمقراطية وليست
we want the politics based on the democratic criteria, not the tribal criteria, and by undermining the law and the dignity
بالتشريع ممكن.
of the people. As to the second question, is the legislation
حضرتها كذا مرة
possible? I have
الإصلاحات التشريعية
participated in the defense committee for sometimes when it talked about the municipality. They were all asking whether there is money or not to
تنظيم
the
اللوجستي
municipality elections. I told them preparing money and the logistic preparation is very important, but the legislative preparation is very important. What have you done
كانوا عم
in
يجتمعوا
the
مرة
subcommittee for the reforms, electoral reforms?
اللي ما كان
They were
معنا
meeting one per month or once per 2 months. They said we didn't have time, we couldn't meet.
أي إصلاح
And
تشريعي.
no, it's impossible that we're ready to do any reforms. They said it's impossible and we do not have time, and these clauses. Definitely, there is a political
بس
decision
بدنا
not to do any municipality reforms and electoral reforms.
نرجع نعمل شراكة حقيقية ونعمل ضغط.
We want to know who's interested in this issue. We want to exert the pressure. I exert pressure from inside. You will exert pressure with me in order to know. We want the public opinion to exert the pressure. Yes, proportionality is needed. Decentralization laws is there, but they're not on the table. Gender quota is there also, but we need
نعمل رأي
to
عام
focus on it.
مش بس تصير الانتخابات، كيف لازم تصير الانتخابات كمان.
شكرا
So not only if the elections will happen, how should it happen? Thank you, Dr. Halima. Of course, we want to exert pressure on the parliament in case the municipality has extended 1 year, as they're saying, to May 2024. We need to have a new electoral law that includes a women quota and has proportionality. I'll give Ali the floor
لأنه صارت
and ask Emily.
اوكي
Ali, it's 12:30. I would like to conclude.
انا
And we
انا
have another meeting, by the way.
رح اجرب اقول
1
بس
minute.
شغله دائما قبل يعني
In 1 minute,
بفتره
I would like to
حملات
say before the or during the electoral campaign, before the election, the political speech will be tensed, and this is what all the political parties agree on. This is why they ignore the development part and they start talking about inciting political speech so that every political speech will bring their tribe and start to talk about this sectarian speech. And this is what we should not fall into. To us also, we should not make women or impose pressure on them. Of course, there are many obstacles and barriers, and of course, there is hope. And in my opinion, when in the Lebanese parliament and legislative committees inside the political parties, they talk about the quota, this is something positive. And my opinion, it is a success by itself. Of course, we're still talking, taking baby
وعندي
steps,
شغله
but
ثالثه اساسيه ما نطلع
there's also a third point that we would like to mention. We
يعني
should
في
not focus
كثير
on the participation for women
على السؤال
aside.
انه ليه النساء
There
بالسياسه
are many laws, and here to answer the question why women's and politics presence is less than other places. Because I repeat and say, as long as the political party system oppress women and they consider them citizens second degree, that means women won't be encouraged and motivated to participate because they're isolated, because they're marginalized. So there need to be a legislative work that we need to do. It won't finish today or in 1 year. It's a 10 year. We need a legislative workshop to improve women's situation, not only in politics, in the society, and the economy. We need to focus on the personal status law. We need to have a civil personal status law. There is this work that we need to do so that women can
بالحقوق
feel that
وبالواجبات
she's a citizen like men also, not only in the preamble of the Constitution. This is how we can see women participating in the politics. The gender roles are there. The marginalized the marginalized Aisha, the Josephine, Halima, all of you. Everyone is working, and we are
على صعيد شخصي
ready
على
to help and to support at the personal level and
بليز
at the level
استغلونا
of the institutions. I do not have any problem. Please, you can work
استغلونا
with us as much as you want.
ان شاء الله بكره مش
We
عم
have
بقول
1 year for the elections.
نقدر
We
نكون
have
عم
1 year, and of course, this would be an opportunity
لحملات
we need to benefit
آه،
from
الناس
together to
بتستفيد من
prepare
الكلمة
ourselves for the elections. Thank you, Ali. And
منا
benefit
بانه
from what I usually say to them in the trainings. I always
نستغله
say exploit us as politicians, not only benefit from them. You need as young politicians, young women politicians to benefit from us, from our presence. I will try to give the floor to Emily because this question was asked about are you going to renew this project? Are you going to leave us in the elections? You trained them and you left them. How it's going to be? What
يبلش من
are
أكثر
you
من
going to have a next phase for this project that has
رح
started
نحصل عليها
since more than 4 years in Lebanon? The second question, are you going to receive this study? Is it available to everyone? Is it translated into Arabic? These are the questions, and I'll give the floor finally to Masaz. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all of the speakers and all of the audience for the questions and the lively discussions. I'm going to respond very briefly indeed, because I know we don't have much time, and also because we will have more opportunities to meet. I saw people asking if there would be an opportunity to have more Zoom sessions, certainly, and there will also be an upcoming activity of the project with all of the participants next month, when I look forward to seeing you all in person. So we will have more opportunities to speak. But very briefly, we're absolutely committed to support, and we're very keen to continue the project. The ambition for this phase had, of course, been to work up to the municipal elections, but now with that postponement, actually we have a bit longer to prepare, and we were also planning to continue to work with elected municipality members who are women after the elections. So that is indeed the plan, and we have always tried as much as possible to be led by the needs, the wishes, the requirements of our women candidates, and to an extent our male allies as well. So we really welcome your feedback. I know you have worked, many of our candidates, closely with our trainers and with Martaz to provide your input. Please continue to do that. I've noted down a few things about more research, about supporting managing discrimination, and about conducting needs assessments. Please do let us know what it is that you need in order to be successful, because we want to meet those needs as much as possible. We will be continuing the mentoring, we hope, because as we got closer to the elections, we understood that the needs of the candidates began to diverge. And so for that kind of support, do go to your mentors and do talk to your mentors. But I know that the value of the network that you as candidates have built amongst yourselves is so vital, and especially with the postponement of the elections and needing to keep the momentum and keep the enthusiasm going. I think the network that you have and the way that you have been supporting each other is so incredible. So it's really fantastic to see that continuing. With that, I just want to say thank you all so much for participating, for attending, to our speakers and to our expert researchers. And Josephine, I'll pass back to you. Thank you.
شكرا أميلي. يعني مشروع أرى من الأول.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you. From the beginning, I was on the ground, and I know quite well how important is this project. So this is why this is very important. This advancement was important. We have more than 40 candidates, so candidates who know where are we going, know what's development, how we're going to have. Of course, this is thanks to their willingness and intention, and thanks to the support of the GPG. I'll give the final word to معتز غدار. معتز who is the project manager
ويقدم الدعم
GPG. معتز also is a trainer and providing direct support
مباشر
to GPGF. I know that all the time during working hour and after working hour, he provides the support. He works on gender equality, leadership, communication, leadership. He holds a master's degree in banking and finance, and he has multidisciplinary background in the public and private sectors. And he worked with non-governmental as international and local organizations. He was also assigned at the Ministry of Tourism in 2012 as a tourism inspector, where he monitored, reported, and ensured ministerial compliance of tourism establishment, so he can monitor the role of women and assess their needs. The floor is yours. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Josephine. We hope that you have benefited from your presence today. Allow me to say that we will send you the study with all the presentations that were presented on the email that you have registered on. We know that there are many questions that we couldn't answer because of the time, but you can always communicate with us through the social media and through the website. On the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Winning with Women, and now you will see it on the chat. And of course, we are always happy to answer your questions or clarifications. I'd like to thank all the speakers who were with us today, starting from Ladir, represented by Ali Slim, Rost, and others, because they believe that the democracy cannot be achieved without women. Thank you. I would like to thank also Josephine Zgheb, Vicky Zwen, Halima Kaafour for their presence, not only today, but from the beginning, from the first stages of this project, as trainers, as advisors, mentors for those women. And also allow me to thank the local partner, LOST, and Dr. Bassam Baki for their support and for supporting all the activities of this project. And of course, we would like to thank my colleagues at GPG and for all those who have participated in the study and conducted the study. And finally, allow me to thank all those who participated with us, for all the participants. Your presence is an added value, of course, and support for women and politics. But the webinars might be a starting point, but of course, alone it's not enough. Unfortunately, women face a plethora of challenges when they want to participate in the political sphere, and they need more support to be able to reach. Lebanon is in the 119th position out of 144 according to Global Gender Gap Report in 2022, and this really
بس هلا الوضع ما تحسن.
We had a government where 30% were female ministers, but the situation is not was not improved. And according to the situation, we need 300 years to reach the equality. This is why I would like to conclude by inviting everyone. The right of women to participate in the political sphere is not a cause related to women only. It is related to every community, to every individual. And this is why women's representation in the political sphere, whether in the parliament or in the municipality, at the municipality level, is the right for men also, because most of the studies are showing that women's participation in decision-making position, whether in the political sphere or in different public spheres, is leading to a better communities, to better economy, and a better life, and a better country, and a better living. And we all have one goal, which is to have a better life, whether man or woman. This is why I'd like to invite everyone to be supportive, allies and partners, for every woman who is a pioneer, who is well qualified, and who is practicing her rights and participating at the political sphere. When women won the election, we all win, and this is why our project is being called Winning with Women. Thank you.
شكرا معتز، شكرا للكل مرة تانية.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for everyone.
Yes, thank you.
بدنا نتشكر مرة تانية الكل، شكرا على هالكلمة من القلب، وخاصة
Allow us to thank everyone. We would like to thank you, especially the last word, since it's being delivered by a man, and this is our activity next month to support men and women, because it was delivered by a man. He's the person who supports us. I cannot give you, I cannot say anything, but you are the most supportive person to us. Thank you. We're looking forward to our meeting next month. Thank you. Thank you, Zaki. One last word for Matas. The first time I can see Matas working in the morning, in the evening, Sunday, Saturday. He is really obsessed with supporting women, with GPGs. So I cannot see a person who supports us non-stop. We're really happy and proud to work with you, Matas. Thank you. Thank you. Because this is a cause that we all believe in. Thank you.